George W. Bush is out with a new book called 41. That's a reference to his father, George H.W. Bush. And of course, he talks about the Bush legacy. And Jeb Bush might run for office next. He says, of course, that he would support him. He'd support him behind the scenes if he wants, or in front of the cameras if Jeb Bush decides that that's what he wants. I like that that's a conversation because they obviously realize that George Bush is a bit of a disaster still to this day in America, and you might not want to associate yourself with him. So that's why he mentions, hey, listen, I'm kind of an embarrassment. So if he wants, I'll go behind the scenes. But mainly the book is about his dad and how he explains, of course, he has great respect for him, and that's why he wrote the book. But then when talking about politics and whether the Bush family helped him in terms of a legacy, well, he's got an interesting answer there.
So let's talk about the Bush dynasty here. Your mom says there have been enough Bushes running for president. What do you two think about that?
Sometimes her prognostications haven't been very accurate, and I think you have to earn your way into politics. I don't think that anything's ever given to you.
Nothing's given to you? Your father was president of the United States of America. There was a lot given to you. Right there is like the definition of white privilege. Here's a guy whose father was a senator, was the head of the CIA, was president himself, got elected governor of Texas when all he'd ever done was run a failing oil business in Texas. Pause to think about how improbable that is. Only George W. Bush could screw up an oil business in Texas. And during an oil boom, by the way, okay? And he got elected governor anyway and then got elected as president. And here he is going, I mean, it's kind of prognostication on my mom's part. But me, you got to earn your way in politics. Are you shitting me? And then these are the guys that turn around and say there shouldn't be any affirmative action. Look, there's a good, healthy debate on affirmative action, and I think it's got its downsides. But George Bush doesn't get to talk about affirmative action. He doesn't get to talk about how you had to earn your way. The guy got C's and D's in school, got into Yale anyway, got C's and D's in Yale, and got into Harvard Business School. You think you did that on your own, Georgie? Is that what you think? Your whole life was given to you because of your name, your status, and your privilege, and the guy still doesn't get it. White privilege in a nutshell. Okay, now, he's not done yet. He just wanted to infuriate me a little further, so he added this.
From your perspective, has politics, my sense is it's gotten a lot meaner.
In the older days, I hate to be one of these guys that talk about the old days, and you're able to do that yourself, by the way. People were held to account for what they said. In other words, there was a pushback. Now there's just so much stuff out there, flotsome out there, that people say what they feel like saying without any consequence.
Did he just talk about how people could say whatever they want without any consequence? You told us there was weapons of mass destruction. You connected Al-Qaeda in Iraq. None of that was true. Held to account? When were you held to account? Remember when he said, now remember, whenever we do a search, we get a warrant. And later we found out that was a complete and utter lie. And when called on, he said, oh, yeah, well, we had to hide that from you. Held to account when? Now people are not held to account enough. The person who should have been held to account is you. Obama came in and he should have looked at what you did in terms of the interrogation tactics, the evidence, so-called evidence in the lead up to the Iraq war, all these things that you did, but he didn't look into it and you got off the hook. So please spare me about how people are not held accountable enough these days. And then second of all, Schieffer, come on, man. You're going to ask him about the old days when politics was meaner? And then as if like George Bush didn't do that? You know what George Bush's campaign did in the 2000 primaries against John McCain, against a fellow Republican? They insinuated that John McCain had an illegitimate black daughter. He doesn't. He has an adopted daughter from South Asia, right? But they did a push poll and they put out flyers there. Karl Rove, George Bush's campaign, saying, would it change your vote if you knew that John McCain has an illegitimate black daughter? They did that in South Carolina to get the racist vote. Yeah, I remember the old days of meaner politics, the one that you practiced. This guy has the nerve to show himself in front of cameras and snicker and laugh as if he didn't do anything wrong. And of course, the problem with our media is they just snicker along and let him get away with it.